Hey guys, welcome to the Wrestling Escape Pod and welcome to this Linda McMahon episode. I mean, I just can't even believe we're doing an episode on Linda McMahon, but it was voted for by our community and we are here to serve. So, of course, I am Wrestling Daze and my co-host with the most... We still don't know most what. I'm still going with everything. But my co-host with the most, Tommy Toy Travels. How are you?
I'm doing well. That's it. That's all I want to say.
That's all you need to say. Do you know what? In 2020, if you're doing well, then you're winning. It's a big success. It's a big success. Now, okay, let's do the admin stuff first, shall we? Let's get a few things out of the way before we get into the subject of Linda McMahon. I don't even know. I can't even remember where we are with Treegate and Svetlana Gate and all the other gates. I don't even know if you've got a gate.
I do, actually.
Oh, there we go. Everyone, if you are making a list, if you have got your diagram of Tommy's house and his room, you can put a gate. Just out of interest, whereabouts is the gate in relation to where you're sat? Just so we can put it in the right place. Okay, yeah.
Far from me.
Pointing really works on podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you listening, I pointed very far.
Yep, that was it, right? So very far in front of him. I would say there was quite a nice, maybe 300 degrees. I kind of feel like that's where we were. 11 o'clock, if it was a clock face, something along those lines. So you can all drop your gates there on your diagrams. In regards to Svetlana, any update?
All right, Daze. Couple updates. Big updates here. I'm not a sheep anymore. I have woken up to the true experience that is digital minimalism. So if Svetlana wants to reach out to me, she can send me a letter in the mail like a real person because I am going off the grid. I am throwing my computer in the trash. I am throwing my phone in the trash. I'm throwing my digital microwave in the trash. I'm throwing my oven in the trash. Anything that has any electrical currents could be digital. So I am going off the grid.
Nice. Is there anything that's brought this on at all?
Yeah, I got a message back from loveme.com and I don't know if it's going to work out.
What did they say?
They asked questions like, why do you want Svetlana on your podcast?
I mean, in fairness, that is a tough one to explain, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
That is a tough one to explain. Okay, and so now out of panic, you're going to throw your microwave away?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a rational reaction because, Zuckerberg is watching us all.
Yes.
But it really comes down to I have to figure out a way to get this guy to give us the go to contact Svetlana. So,
I mean, famously, I think it has been reported many times that Mark Zuckerberg is trying to contact us through our microwaves. So I think you are definitely onto something there. You are definitely. Okay. All I would say is maybe keep your pager. Maybe don't throw the pager away. So
the way I see it is, if she actually loves me.com, she will find a way.
She will find a way. Do you know what? And that brings us beautifully to today's topic, because we're going to talk a lot about love in this episode. Because the reason why we're doing this episode is because of my love for Linda McMahon. And I want to be very, very clear about my love for Linda. It is exactly the same as your love for Svetlana. Exactly the same. Like, if we end up having babies, I'm absolutely fine with that. And I have actually found out a bit of news that really cheered me up on that front. Because did you know that Vince McMahon has admitted that he has had affairs on Linda. This was exposed, if you will. I say exposed. He kind of admitted it. It wasn't really an exposure if you come out and you just admit it. But it was in an interview with Playboy magazine. They get all the big scoops, Playboy magazine. So he came out and said that Linda has asked him a few times, have you had an affair with this person? And, you know, the great thing about Vince is, all right, he cheated, but he's very honest about it. And he will always say yes if he has. So apparently she does know of a few affairs. All I'm going to say is maybe it's time that she got a little something back. Maybe it's time she got a little something in return.
All I have to say is, Vince McMahon, how dare you?
Oh, don't even get me started on that. Oh, can you imagine how angry I was?
You were 13.
Yes.
And you did that to your sweetheart?
Yeah.
Imagine if Svetlana did that to me.
What if he cheated with Svetlana?
A foreign affair?
Yeah, well, look, don't rule it out. Don't rule it. This is the World Wrestling Federation. Thank you very much. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what? The clues have been there all along. It's not the American Wrestling Federation.
Svetlana has a child.
She does have a child, yes.
His name is Shane McMahon.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is incredible. I can't believe this. This is turned into full-on Conspiracy Central. So,
yeah.
There we go.
Absolutely.
So, how do you want to tackle this anyway? I mean, I've got a few very interesting things that I found out. This is going to be difficult to fill an hour, but we don't have to, of course. But yeah, I mean, did you manage to find anything on Linda that you wanted to discuss?
Nope. Take away. Daze,
okay.
You have an hour.
Yeah. Okay. I've got this. Don't worry, I've got this. Yeah. I'll go through my photo collection first.
Thank you.
Okay, so Linda, born 1948 in New Bern, North Carolina. And
can I pause you there, actually?
Please.
New Bern, North Carolina, is also the birthplace of Pepsi Cola, and one can assume the birthplace of Pepsi Man. Also, Edwards, the "You've Got Mail" guy from AOL, born there.
What, in New Bern?
Yeah.
I'd never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a coastal town in North Carolina. It has a Walmart, it has a Target, and also when you get down to coastal North Carolina, you get wild horses that live on the beach. So, just saying. Paradise.
That's amazing. That's amazing information. All I'm thinking about right now, right, following you saying that, is could you imagine how much better the CM Punk character would have been if instead of a Pepsi logo, he had a giant Linda McMahon face tattooed on his arm? That is all I'm thinking right now.
They come from the same place.
Yeah, and I've got to tell you, I am so excited to create that graphic and put it onto YouTube. I am so excited. So yeah, this honestly, this is the gift that keeps on giving. So really very pleased about that. People always want to know why Linda when it comes to me, because she's been a bit of a, I don't want to say a running joke, but we always talk about her when anyone says, you know, who's your crush and things like this. And I do find that a weird question to answer, if you know what I mean, because I don't really watch wrestling for crushes. So, you know, I don't necessarily have one. But the reason why I've always said Linda is, and why I do find her genuinely to be a very interesting person, is because we know a lot about Steph. We know a lot about Shane. We know a lot about Vince. Linda is always in the background. I mean, she has done so much for the company behind the scenes. And I've got a few facts and figures for you, but she has been with WWE since the very beginning, since Vince took over. And as you just said, I mean, she met Vince when she was 13. She was married to Vince when she was 17. Vince is 3 years older. And they married, obviously it was a different time. They married in 1966. But she's been there all along, by his side, doing a lot of work. She's been CEO of the company, and we don't know much about her. She's kind of like the hidden McMahon, and I just find that so interesting that she's not been involved in that many storylines, and she's kind of largely stayed out of the way. I suppose I have to say at the start, this is nothing to do with her political connections or anything to do with that. I'm not interested in any of that. That's got nothing to do with wrestling. I'm only interested in the wrestling side of things. And her name always came up on our streams and whatever, because how do you answer who's your favourite crush without... I mean, I've never even given it a thought. It's never crossed my mind. So I would have to actually think about who do I think's attractive and stuff like, and then it starts to feel pervy. So trust me, if I'm going to be pervy, I'm going to go full on pervy. So I'm going to go and pick the 70-year-old woman, right?
2.5 feet rating though, so
yes, 2.5 feet rating, but for a 70-year-old,
that's actually really good.
Do you know what I mean? That's really quite high.
That's what most 70-year-old feet look like.
You take Linda back into her prime. 5 out of 5, mate. No doubt about it.
6 out of 5.
6 out of 5.
Dave Meltzer.
So Linda is definitely someone that I find intriguing. But do you know, if we're going to be serious for a second, which we're not, but if we were, there is actually another McMahon that I find even more intriguing. Tommy, do you know who that is? Here we go.
Nope.
Good answer. The McMahon that I personally find the most intriguing, even more intriguing than Vince, is Vince's brother, Rod. Rod McMahon. Rod McMahon, right, is super intriguing because we've never seen him. He is Vince McMahon's half brother, who is just not connected to WWE. A lot of people don't even know that Vince has got a brother, a half-brother, but he does. He's out there, and there's rumours that if the steroid trial in the 90s had gone against Vince, and if Vince had ended up going to prison, because that was a very real prospect, that steroid trial, I think it was like 94, was a big deal. And there's rumours, I don't know how true they are, but if it had all fallen apart, Vince would have put Rod in charge of WWE. And he wouldn't have done the day-to-day running, but he just would have had Vince's best interests at heart, if you know what I mean. They would have had someone else do the day-to-day.
I've seen enough crime shows to know that the boss is in jail and his lackeys are out there doing everything. Well, I get it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we was looking at, but obviously it didn't go that way. But yeah, it's so interesting, the fact that we've never seen him. The other thing that I read as I was doing research for this was there was a storyline where Vince McMahon's limo blew up. You might remember this was around the time of the Chris Benoit incident, and they actually dropped that storyline. And apparently Rod was discussed as being brought in, and he was going to be a part of that storyline. Again, I don't know how true this is. These are just things that I've seen spoken about in forums and picked up by certain news outlets. But I'm seeing his name mentioned in a few different places. Other than that, we just don't know much about him. I know that he works in the steel manufacturing industry. He's kind of close to Vince, but they didn't really grow up together. But it's amazing to me that he's got a brother or half brother out there that we don't know anything about. So he's like proper out on his own. I can tell you some other interesting stuff. I wasn't even going to go this far into it, but I found out that Rod McMahon, do you know what wrestler he's really good friends with? Ryback. How does that happen?
What?
Yeah, I know. How does that happen? Rod McMahon is really good friends with Ryback. They have trained together. Rod McMahon, right, is really into fitness, and he lives in Houston. And apparently, he got talking to Ryback in a gym, and Ryback didn't know that this was Vince's brother, and they hit it off. And then he found out it was Vince's brother. So Ryback has actually said a few times that he knows and he's got a good relationship with Rod McMahon. And get this, feed me more the Ryback kind of like protein supplements. Apparently Rod is one of his customers. It's like, honestly, as I was reading and finding this stuff out, I was like, I did not expect to go down this wormhole. This is stunning information. This is incredible stuff.
It's a small world, or was it set that way by Mark Zuckerberg? Get off the grid!
Get off the grid. Get off the grid. Throw your microwaves away.
Yes, anything with electrical current, get rid of it. Get rid of the eels. Get rid of your electronic toothbrushes.
Yes.
Digital technology is going to bring us all down.
I'm really scared that by the time we get to next week's episode, you're going to be sat there with like a tinfoil hat. I kind of feel like we're watching the slow mental deterioration of Tommy Toy Travel.
Yeah, it's like, the thing is like, this is a bit, obviously, but like all this past week, I have been reading people saying stuff like this.
Really? And it is now starting to influence your way of thinking?
Yes, to an extent. When it comes to certain things, like social media and influenced by bad actors and stuff like that. Like that stuff is creepy. But when it comes down to technology, I think technology is a great tool. But to go back to character, that is what I'd say, so that Mark Zuckerberg would think I wasn't tricked.
Yes,
but I am.
Can I ask a question? What is that's on? I'm so fascinated by your room. That's well documented. What is that on the window behind you right now that seems to be preventing your blind from closing? I've got a small concern that it may be electrical. Part of me thinks like some kind of air conditioning unit, but then part of me thinks no, it's probably just a box.
Yeah, it's an aircon.
It is an aircon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Does that not concern you that Zuckerberg might get to you that way via your electronic air conditioning unit?
He could.
He could try.
He is trying. Let's be honest. He has my number. I have a fan on right now. Everything.
Did you know that Vince was actually bankrupt? Linda and Vince were bankrupt. There's a lot of people that don't quite understand how Vince managed to take over the WWE. And the truth of the matter is that Vince's parents actually separated when he was young. So he grew up with his mom and a stepdad, and it was his real dad that had gone off. So his relationship with his dad was a little troubled, let's put it that way. His dad wasn't really around as he grew up. And the stories actually where Vince would be abused as a kid, beaten up by his stepfather. And he had a rough upbringing, Vince did. A lot of people might think that Vince grew up in the wrestling business and was very privileged, and it's not true. I've heard that he grew up in a trailer, and like quite tight for money. Money was a problem as he grew up. And as we know, he got married at the age of 20. Linda was 17. Whatever money he did have, he was told to invest into a construction company. He didn't know anything about construction, and it all fell apart. And he was bankrupt. He had no money. He was done. So he ends up filing for bankruptcy. I think by this point, Steph and Shane had been born. So it is incredible, the story. He ends up going to work for his father. Of course, you know, his dad definitely does help. I mean, his dad owns WWF. And so he ends up going to work for him. And what money he does get, you know, he's able to put aside, and he's able to get some financial support. And by the time the early 80s come around, he's, you know, got enough money to buy the company. But he's had to do it on his own. There's a lot of people that think that this is just handed to him, and it absolutely is not handed to him. He has to take some real risks and find the money. He finds it through, you know, many different ways, and he's able to buy the company. And that's when he decides that rather than just keeping it in New York, he's gonna branch out. He's going to take it national. He's going to expand and take over the territories. Now, his dad was horrified at that. His dad did not want that to be the case. When it came to wrestling, you know, this was your bit, that was their bit. Someone else had this part of the country, then someone had that. And, you know, you looked after your own. You didn't step on other people's toes. But Vince was, you know, had no interest in playing that game. So he started to take the best talent, and he would start to buy TV time, and he would start to slowly expand. And as he got, you know, more money coming in, and, you know, his influence grew, he could then reinvest it to get more talent, more TV time, and things just snowballed. You know, by the time we're getting towards the end of the 80s, you've got like Jim Crockett Promotions, you've got maybe the AWA that are still around at this time, and WWE, and that's about it. All the other territories have been swallowed up, gone bankrupt, fallen apart. It's really, really interesting, the fact that Linda and Vince were bankrupt at one point, and the struggle, the real struggle to actually get the company. And then, you know, I mean, the 8 is so incredible that just I'd love to read more about that time and how, you know, some of the decisions and how he went about it. But you know, this was where he lost his money in construction. He knew about wrestling, so he felt more comfortable in this kind of world. So yeah, really, really interesting stuff. Have you ever really gone back to like the territories and the expansion and, you know, WrestleMania, the first one, and kind of that kind of time period? Have you explored that much at all?
Yes. I don't know how.
Okay.
But I know I did.
Okay. I suppose, I mean, like with figure videos and things like that, you would be forced to, in a way, wouldn't you? Because like with every series, they tend to put a legend in, and then, you know, you'd go back and you'd read up on that legend, watch some of their matches, and, you know, you just kind of naturally pick it up that way, don't you? Was there?
Yeah.
Was there any? I was just going to say, was there any legends from that time that kind of did resonate with you at all? Hogan?
Nope.
No? Warrior?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
None of them?
Nope.
Wow.
I am a man of the future. No one listens to me.
I think you're so concerned about Mark Zuckerberg taking over your mind that you're just like, no, I can't focus on the 80s right now.
Yes.
That's for another. I can't cope with this conversation.
Yeah.
No, that's understandable. If I was in your predicament, I think I'd feel the same. So, so very interesting. But did you know, right, we're into the 80s now. Did you know that a lot of the marketing side of things was actually done by Linda? She was negotiating a lot of the deals. She was getting a lot of the brands on board. Linda McMahon negotiated the deal with LJN to get the first wrestling figures. Right? I'm not gonna sit here and say that it was all down to her that we got them. Of course, you know, LJN was very interested in the WWF F at the time because of their larger-than-life characters and their TV time. So they were certainly interested. WWE are interested in anyone that's going to give them money. But it was Linda that negotiated that deal. It was Linda that put all that together. Linda very much was doing the behind-the-scenes work whilst Vince was concentrating on the storylines and the presentation and the actual wrestling side of the business. But this is what I keep saying, like, Linda was doing so much. She also negotiated, like, the big TV contracts around that time as well. So, you know, she's very much driving the business side of things. And it's kind of, I mean, like, the fact that this was a female that was doing this. I mean, a female that's in that position at that time that's negotiating those kind of deals for WWE. I know it's the wife of Vince, right? It's Linda, and their, you know, partnership, of course. But I mean, that's still like a really big deal that there's a person, a female, in that kind of position of power that's negotiating all this. And so again, respect to Linda. You know, she did a lot, which is why I know that she's not dead. Why are you looking up at the heavens?
No, it's like respect.
Oh, okay, right. We'll not have it made out that Linda McMahon has passed away, right?
No, she's here. That's just my.
So yeah, it's really cool that she was able to achieve all of that. And as we said, you know, she negotiated the TV deals, and it's kind of very interesting. I think this is why she was kind of brought in with the Trump administration, right? Again, I'm not political. I've got no interest in like going through all of this, but she
all right, I'll do this. So there's this guy named yeah, sorry, I don't
DT.
Yeah, I don't remember the details.
Okay. What of your current president?
And George Washington.
Wow.
Started off as president.
Yeah.
And then...
Do you know all the presidents, by the way?
Of course, no.
No,
I don't even know what 80s wrestler I like. Not that I know the full order of president.
That is something you learn, isn't it? Because obviously we don't learn it here in the UK. It's not, when I go to school, I was not taught the history of the US presidents. So I ain't got a clue who they are. But I think George Washington's the first. It's
the type of thing where, like, those kids that always get good grades, they're the ones that memorize all the presidents. It's just like, oh yeah, I know them, but they just know them as a name.
Right.
And then everyone else who's just like mid-tier, like me, who just know the big names, is just like, yeah, they're presidents, but I do not have the mind to remember every single president.
Can you also name all 50 states?
That's actually a great question. I won't do it on the pod.
No.
But I feel confident that if I had time, I could do it.
Okay. Do you reckon
like it would be,
you'd get to like 48 and you'd be like, oh.
Yeah. I think that would be the thing. Like, I know all 50 of them, but it's the type of thing where it would just be like trying to figure out. Now, to point them out on a map would be a bigger challenge.
Next level tricky.
Yeah, because that's like, okay, is this where it goes? It's like a puzzle, but again, those smart kids, they know how to do it.
I always find, and maybe I'm in the minority, I find it's the middle part of America that's quite tricky, and some of them are like some of the biggest ones. But I find I find the edges quite. I don't want to say easy because I still don't know them, but
it's like a puzzle.
It is like wow.
Do the edges first.
I bet that. Yes. Yeah, that's what I would do. I'm like an old man doing the outsides first and then working my way into the middle. Yeah. That's how that would be my approach to the United States of America.
Yeah.
So, right, Linda. So she negotiated deals and everything. Obviously, we wouldn't really see her on TV, but she'd be still working in the background. She obviously would then start to get like political aspirations, and as we said, she would actually be brought into the Trump administration. 2017, I think it was like pretty much from the start. She was the small businesses advisor, was it, or some kind of title like that. So she basically guru or whatever it was. She was advising small businesses, and obviously she's had a relationship with Donald Trump for years because he's based in the New York area. So was WWF at the time, and as well as that, like, he was responsible for putting on WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5. They were done at Trump Plaza, even though it wasn't Trump Plaza. We've kind of touched on that before. So they've known of him and been had a good, strong relationship with him for a long time. And the way that they were bankrupt and, you know, they kind of built the company up, I think he admired that, and that's why she was brought into that role. She left in 2019, and she's gone on now to be in charge of a super PAC, which I should imagine that PAC, the wrestler in AEW, is very upset about, because if I was called PAC and then like Linda McMahon's in charge of a super PAC, I'd be like, what's this about? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. How am I meant to compete against...
How dare you, Linda McMahon?
How dare you, Linda? I will not fall out with Linda over much. But her going around, being in charge, managing, if you will, super PAC at the exact same time that we've got PAC, that feels like a shot to AEW to me. That feels like a real shot. So I've got no idea. I don't know what a super PAC is. I haven't got a clue what a super PAC is, but she's in charge of it. And something to do with money. So
she's doing a great job. I think it's the council to plan on spending for Trump's re-election campaign. I could be totally wrong on that.
Okay, that's interesting.
Could be Russian bots on Zuckerberg's platform putting that in my mind.
Where's Svetlana from?
Ukraine.
Okay.
She's Ukrainian.
Woo! all of a sudden I was thinking election rigging, right? That's what I was thinking. Yeah. And this podcast does not want to get caught up in that. I feel like I'm stating the obvious, but in case anyone is in any doubt, we do not support election rigging. Okay?
No.
That is not a statement that I expected to have to make at any point during these shows. But there it is.
Speaking of that, here's one for you.
Go on.
Can you name every European country?
Same as you. I would know them. I think I could give it a pretty good go. But to be honest, I wouldn't even know how many there are. Do you know, like with 50 states, you know, there's a number to get to. If you was to ask me how many European countries are now, I'd be guessing. So, I don't know. I could name a lot, and I'd feel pretty confident about it. If someone was to say to me, right, there's, 62 or something like that, then I could give it a good go. But same as you, I'd be getting up to, I'd be up to 12, and then I'd struggle or something. I don't know. But France, Italy. That'd be about it. So, I'd do all right. But that's not something we learn in school. You've got to remember, we hate Europe.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget that. We're do you know what I mean? We're full on Brexit over here.
Sorry. Off in your own place.
Off on our own. We're just chilling, literally on our own. Yeah. So, it's not something that I was necessarily taught at school. But I am fascinated in countries and capital cities and things like that, which is just a quirky little thing that people might not know about me. I love flags.
Fun fact.
I love flags. I love seeing a flag and then trying to figure out what country it is. I don't know why. It's the lamest skill in the world, but I do enjoy it. Haven't all the states got their own flags?
Yeah.
Do you know? I don't think I've ever seen them. I know. Is it California that's like got the bear, and someone was connected with that. There was a band that was very famous that used that, maybe as an album cover or something. Can't remember who it is, but I'm sure there's a bear on a block of colour at the bottom, a block of colour at the top, and that's the Californian flag. Chicago, obviously, is the CM Punk Stars. I'd struggle with the rest. I'd imagine that Texas is a single star because it's known as a single star state. And maybe Florida's just like a picture of an orange. I don't know.
You were right about California.
Okay.
Kind of right about Texas. Texas does have a single star, but it also has those stripes. In California, I'm going to see...
Well, Chicago we're good with, you mean?
Yeah.
And California, I think, is a bear.
Rooney had a CD cover.
Yes, Rooney. That's correct, Rooney.
Teamwork.
Yes, we got there. I mean, literally everyone's going, who's Rooney? And in all fairness, I'm asking the same as well. But
I think it's that guy who's a director, but he had a band in high school and they toured with Weezer.
Okay,
let's just ignore this. Because this is like, people are just going to be like, what the hell is he talking about?
I tuned in for Linda McMahon.
Not Rooney.
Not Rooney.
Talking about Rooney. No one likes power pop anymore.
Guys, Linda McMahon was a very secretive person, okay? She worked behind the scenes. There's not bags of information out there. So you're going to have to excuse us if we go a little off-road, right?
Yeah.
I think people will understand. They like it when we go a little bit wacky races. So
we are going very wacky racers.
Yeah, okay.
And did you know that Linda McMahon was a Libra? Well, she is a Libra. No.
I did not know that, no, but there we go. Right, so we've covered the 80s. We've spoke about the 90s. We've spoken about her political aspirations and the fact that she would go on to be in the Trump administration. We first see Linda on WWE TV in 1999. This is Attitude Era. And this is part of like the corporate ministry kind of storylines. We see her as a part of that. The most famous storyline that Linda McMahon was a part of is, without doubt, without question, the WrestleMania 17 build and the payoff with WrestleMania 17.
X7.
X7, sorry, yes. So, do you remember this?
Of course. No, I wasn't born yet.
Brilliant. Okay. You wasn't born?
No.
Okay. Are you legally old enough to be doing this podcast?
No.
So when I was asking about, do you know all the presidents, it's because you haven't been taught it yet. Yeah. Fair enough.
Just learned the ABC.
Okay, let me go through this storyline then. So basically, Linda is the CEO and Mick Foley is the commissioner. Vince McMahon is in disagreement with Mick Foley, and Linda sides with Mick Foley. So as you can imagine, Vince McMahon is absolutely furious over this. So as a result, he threatens Linda with a divorce, right? So he threatens Linda with a divorce, and he actually goes off and he starts having a relationship with Trish Stratus. Now, all of this is too much for Linda to take. So she ends up having a nervous breakdown and she goes into hospital. It's too much for her to cope with. As a result, the board of directors put Vince in charge as the CEO. So what this means is he can get rid of Mick Foley as the commissioner and he can start doing things the way that he wants now. Linda is in a coma at this point now, right? This is classic wrestling 101. So Linda's now in a comatose state and she's in a wheelchair. And Vince is just going off the rails at this point, you know. He's kissing Trish in front of Linda. Linda's just sat there, in this comatose state in this wheelchair, and Vince will be kissing Trish in front of Linda, and the disrespect was incredible. I think.
How dare you?
He is a real dog. If there's one thing we're going to learn in this podcast, Vince McMahon is a wrong-un. Right, so he was smooching with Trish in front of Linda. Steph has a match against Trish. She's obviously fighting for her mother's honor, if you will. And Shane comes back as well, and he is fighting for his mother's honor, which is what makes that WCW moment so good. Vince McMahon thinks that he's bought WCW, but as he's doing the telecast, the joint telecast at the end of WCW, it's Shane that appears on WCW, and he actually says the contract does say McMahon, but it's Shane McMahon. I now own WCW, and this was all part of that storyline. Shane now owned WCW, and he was trying to get at his dad. He was trying to, really make his dad pay for what he had done to his mom, basically. So the stage was set for WrestleMania X7, where we would have Vince McMahon taking on Shane McMahon, and of course Linda would be there in the chair as well, and it was magic. It was absolutely brilliant. The moment when Linda finally gets out of the chair is incredible. Like, the crowd absolutely erupts. The crowd goes absolutely crazy just for a woman standing out of her chair. She just stands up. That's all she did. She was in this chair comatose. Shane is fighting Vince, and all of a sudden she stands up, and then she's in the ring. She goes over. Vince turns around. I think he's got a chair or a trash can, and she kicks him right in the McMahons. Right in the McMahons. Down he goes.
That's what you get.
That's what you get. It was brilliant. It was so good. It's so OTT wrestling. It's brilliant. She would do a few more bits, but I think that's probably the biggest storyline that she was a part of. And as we said, really after that, she would go on to do other things, like her political pursuits. And things like that, and then she was having to defend a lot of WWE practices, and things got a little bit moody. So I can see you got your shades on now. You're really feeling that 80 odd degrees, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know who it was last week in the chat. They were saying, "Yo, can you go back into dark mode with your room being dark?" So it got dark, but then I found this lighting thing that goes way too bright, so I put it up all the way just for terrible lighting, because I figure if I can go too dark, I can go too bright. So the world is my oyster. Hey,
look, you do what you look after you, and you do what you need to do. So
thanks, Dave.
So I mean, I think we've pretty much covered a lot to do with Linda. That's kind of, how she met Vince, how the company started, what she was responsible for, some of her biggest storylines, the fact that she moved into politics. And it's going to be very interesting to see what she does going forward, really, because, I mean, once her political career is over, I mean, is there a chance that she comes back to the WWE? I wouldn't be surprised to see her do something, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't be surprised to see something. I can't quite call what it would be, but I don't know, maybe if Steph has one more match and she needs someone in a corner, maybe Linda comes down with her. I mean, there's no way she's going to be doing it at the moment, because it's just not a good look, is it, to be doing wrestling whilst you're in the political environment. So what is it that you where did we get with next week's topic?
Yeah, so as I said, the audience, they've been getting all the charm here. We've been doing episodes for them. It's time that we took this podcast back. So I got it this time, and I did 4 options, which was 1, John Cena's Instagram, 2, dumbest TNA moments, 3, our WWE live experiences, and 4, having a wrestler on the pod.
I didn't see what one.
I think it is dumbest TNA moments.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Too.
I don't know much about TNA. Is the truth? Did you watch it?
I did watch it. Not like religiously, but if it was on, well, when it was Impact, I never saw it when it was TNA. But I did subscribe to their service for a month or two and watched a lot of their early stuff, those early pay-per-views.
Okay. That's going to be very, very interesting. Like doing some research for that and finding out some of those moments. Impact is not something that I watch even today, to be honest. TNA just, I don't know why. I mean, I've got to be honest, as I was kind of, it was around in the early 2000s, wasn't it? 2002 that it first started. You know, around that time, that's when my priorities kind of were elsewhere. As I was on Rooney, yes, and making sure that I could learn all the flags from around the world. So I was a busy boy. So yeah, I didn't have time to be watching, keeping up with WWE and TNA. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. So is that going to be the way we're going to do it going forward? Are we going to put out some options and let people vote?
We can do it on Twitter. That. We can do it through your streams. Anyway, anything that has a survey, we can do it.
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun.
Why did you pick John Cena's Instagram? Is it particularly interesting?
Yeah, we could take a deep dive on that and try and figure out what it means.
Try and figure him out as a man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is an interesting character. We've been doing some Total Divas watch-alongs, and just to take it back to Linda McMahon, she has yet to appear. But I've got to say it, I'd love it if she did. Linda McMahon special Total Divas is what the world needs right now, as it's trying to heal from what 2020 has put us through so far. But seeing him and some of the stuff, I mean, he was making like Nikki Bella sign contracts when she moved in and stuff like this.
That's called a pro strat.
Okay, how do you know about these?
I've had some dating experience. You might not know this with women like Svetlana, and I understand the reason for doing that. It's because it's best for both parties. It's best to do what's best. So with John Cena doing that, I understand.
Okay, fair enough. I do still find it very interesting. It's not a normal, I think we can agree it's not a normal practice. But John Cena's not a normal person, is he? I mean, he is one of the biggest, highest paid superstars of all time. So he's got to look after his assets, if you will. So
yes.
Okay. Well, what was the other option? If a wrestling guest had won, what the freak were we gonna do?
That was one of those things where I was just like, hopefully it won't.
Hopefully
win.
That doesn't win.
Because we'd have to be like, who knows a wrestler?
Brilliant.
Who
there we go.
Who would talk about temperature with us?
I had people saying, if it wins, who are you getting? And I'm like, trust me, I'm going to be as surprised as you are. I think it might be Tommy breaking out the Naomi costume again. Yeah, I couldn't. I was surprised that was an option. Let's put it that way. And what was the final option? What was the other one? So TNA won. John Cena's Instagram was an option. Bringing on a wrestling guest was an option. And what was the final one?
Story times of us going to wrestling events.
Oh, okay. That might have been cool. We've shared a few of those already, though, haven't we? We've shared a few of those already. We've got to do a traditional mention of Sabers! Yes, there it is. That allows me to put the picture up. That allows me to get the image up. Yes.
I got an email from Savers this week saying that my local Savers is now back to being opened after the COVID pandemic closed it. So we're back in business, baby.
How do they get do they get their stock from people? Or so you go in and you go, buy this kind of a thing.
I used to bring a lot of my toys that I reviewed there. It would kind of be like an even flow system. I'd bring toys and then I'd find other toys people donated. So you can find some cool stuff. Once I saw my own stuff on the wall after bringing it, so I know it's legit.
Okay. So what is it, like a charity place? You donate it to them?
It is. I think all the money, well, a percentage of the money after paying workers and stuff goes to the Epilepsy Foundation.
Okay. Or maybe it goes to Rod McMahon. We don't know yet. We don't know. He's got his fingers in many pies, Rod McMahon. His fingers in many, many pies. So, okay, well, that's good news that Savers has reopened. I feel like we've touched.
I guarantee if we touch base with them, they won't pull a loveme.com Svetlana and be like, why do you want to interview them? I think they'd be like, yes, please come film your podcast at Savers, because Savers are nice people.
It's kind of disappointing that they said that. I kind of feel like it suggests that loveme.com aren't aware of this podcast yet.
Yeah.
I do find that disappointing, because I think we've promoted them more than any other podcast ever has.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? And
it's like meeting your idol, and they're just normal.
You know, like if you've got like a podcast, and if you're like an influencer, they do tend to send you like the occasional gift.
Mm-hmm. They should have sent us a lot.
They should have
sent a lot of free money.
Yeah, or a Ukrainian lady.
Yeah, or like a trip, because you're in the UK, so you could go there easier than me.
But there is a different. I'm not in the Ukraine. I know you're still in school, but UK isn't short for Ukraine.
I meant it that you're closer than me.
I never mentioned this, but Svetlana's actually my next door neighbour.
I know that the UK.
Well, we've really learned a lot here today, so there we go. I think we're done. I think we've covered everything to do with Linda. I think we've touched base on everything we know. It's kind of nice actually knowing what next week's episode's all going to be about, isn't it? We already know in advance that it's going to be TNA related, which is a different flavour. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be good. Anything you want to throw into the pot, my friend?
No. Thank you to whoever said turn off the lights, because this is funny.
Nice. It's as if like you're literally about to go to bed now.
That's honestly what I do.
I genuinely feel like I have seen the complete breakdown of Tommy Toy Travels in this one episode, because like when this started, it was light. And you were sat there and you seemed happy and everything. And we've gone through you putting on the lights, putting shades on. Yeah. Then you've turned the lights off. You've now taken the shades off, and you're just sitting in a dark room.
It's like joining the darkness as one.
In my mind, you might now stay like that for a week until we come back and join you again in a week's time.
Yeah. It's kind of what it's like.
Oh, bless. Bless. Right, okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us for this very strange episode. But I think it was always going to be that way if we were going to be talking about Linda McMahon. But I hope you had a good time anyway, joining us. Thank you to Tommy. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we see you again next time. Bye for now.